Hello Zimbabwe and welcome to Livetalk, The Connection, a platform where we discuss issues affecting young people. We are coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington. I am your host, Taboka Ncube. Today on Live Talk, we are looking at the cholera pandemic that has hit Zimbabwe with over 8,000 suspected cases and 1,200 laboratory-confirmed cases since February this year. But first, let us take a look at what is happening in the other parts of Africa as industrial mining is expanding in Namibia to meet international demand. Small-scale miners whose families have worked the land for generations say they are being displaced. Vitalio Angula has the story from Namibia.
With an iron chisel and hammer in hand, Richly Tani says hammers a rock on a hilltop not far from where she lives, in the mountainous settlement of Uwis. Tani says is part of an impoverished community largely made up of small-scale miners who for centuries have made a living selling jewels and minerals like tin, copper and crystal. The Ministry of Mines and Energy spokesperson, Eshoshange Hashelia, tells VOA the authority has at least 5,000 to 10,000 registered small-scale miners in its database, some of whom are operating outside borders.
There are still those small-scale miners which are still mining illegally, sometimes simply because they believe they born there. They've been doing that before all these requirements came about. But yes, there are a lot of other unregistered small-scale miners which are mining illegally. And this is a challenge from the regulator point of view.
But legally or illegally, there is a family tradition of mining in this region that precedes the large-scale industrialization of the area.
The thing is, our grandparents were mining already in this area. That's why we are also mining in this area. Because we learn from them. They feed us with the tin. And then we see how our elders were doing. That's why we are following their footsteps.
John Andrew Kelly is an activist in the Uwis.
But we are poor people, my lord. We are poor people. Most of us, after the reopening of this mine currently, we're hoping for the green pastures which have come like a crocodile is wading in the water and the food is coming to them. We feel like we will enjoy the fruits, my lord. But it's not like that. This is the time we are more oppressed.
He says the miners have been displaced by huge corporations such as Australia's Andrada Mining and China's Xingfeng Investments. These large multinational corporations now own the land the indigenous or artisanal miners have been working. Andrada Mining, registered in South Africa with headquarters in the United Kingdom, says there is no artisanal mining activity in the company's current footprint, Andrada spokesperson told VOA. Xingfeng Investments, on the other hand, said the company recognizes the small-scale miners' presence and is willing to work with them. But they have not been approached officially or unofficially by any of the small-scale miners for consent to mine within the boundaries of their mining premises. Authorities admit these indigenous mining areas are now private land. To solve the problem, government officials say they are consulting with the mining giants to allow the small-scale miners access to these areas. Vitalio Angula, VOA News, Windhoek, Namibia.
Kenya is struggling to repay a massive debt owed to China for the construction of the standard gauge railroad that links the Kenyan cities of Mombasa and the capital, Nairobi. But President William Ruto is asking for an additional billion-dollar loan from China to complete some other stalled development projects in the country. Kennedy Wandera has more from Nairobi.
We must admit, honorable members, that as a country, we had been living large and way beyond our means.
President William Ruto, who has been a vocal critic of former President Uhuru Kenyatta's policy of borrowing money from China, appears to have changed his position as he looks for money to finance Kenya's development projects. Earlier this month, Ruto's government announced it will ask the Chinese government to give it more time to pay off existing loans and for an additional $1 billion loan. The new loan will help Kenya complete toll road construction projects, pay contractors who abandoned work of unpaid bills, and invest in ongoing infrastructure projects such as extending the country's standard gauge railway northwest to Malaba at the border with Uganda. It is a big flip-flop from 2 months ago when Ruto told the country he planned to stop borrowing money.
Tulikuwa pahali hatari sana.
We were in a very bad position. We had a lot of debt and we didn't have a plan on how to solve that problem. I would like to tell you that we have stabilized the economy of the Republic of Kenya. We have made sure that we won't be borrowing loans anymore.
Stabilized the economy of the Republic of Kenya.
China is Kenya's second largest lender after the World Bank. During Kenyatta's presidency, Kenya took out $8 billion in Chinese-backed loans to finance the initial construction of the 480-kilometer standard gauge railway from the port city of Mombasa to the nation's capital Nairobi and the construction of a major Kenya highway. During Kenyatta's tenure in power, his administration also spent about $8 billion to repair and build 10,000 new kilometers of highway across the country. To pay back what the country owes and the new loans he is asking for, Ruto's government announced plans to expand employment and raise taxes as two of the ways to pay back the loans. But economic experts like Charles Karisa are worried that it's not going to work and believe it is financially dangerous.
As a developed nation, it's a bad situation we're in right now, because if you borrow more, then it means we have less to take care of our needs. One of the things that I will argue this government to do is to relook at the issue of taxation, because theories have proven in the past that if you tax more Kenyans or you tax, you bring more taxes, the revenue does not, gradually go up. Why? Because people tend to sort of evade pay taxes, and therefore we need to balance the two.
Government data show that Kenya is spending about half of its revenue to pay back debts on its books to the International Development Association, the African Development Bank, the International Monetary Fund, China, and Japan. Kennedy Wandera, VOA, Nairobi, Kenya.
And back to Zimbabwe, High Court Judge Justice Tawanda Chitapi has reserved judgment in a case in which the CCC is seeking interim relief to stop Sengezo Chabangu, who is claiming to be the party's interim Secretary General, from recalling more CCC members of National Assembly, Senate, and councils. Chabangu's lawyer Ngobani Stole speaks.
As everybody knows that today the CCC, Sengezo Chabangu matter, was being heard. Both parties have made arguments, and one of the things that is clear from what has happened in court is that there are two constitutions. One that Sengezo Chabangu has brought in his opposing affidavit, and the other one that has been brought by the purported CCC in their answering affidavit. So the court must make a determination on those two constitutions, which one carries the day. It's a mountain high task to climb.
Are you confident you make it?
Indeed, we are very confident.
They argued that Chabangu is not part of CCC, and your argument regarding that?
They say it's an imposter.
Well, that argument has been ongoing, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. The court must make a determination of that, but you just cannot just allege for the sake.
That was Ngobani Stole, lawyer for self-proclaimed CCC Interim Secretary General, speaking to journalists in Harare. The lawyer representing expelled CCC lawmakers, Obey Shava, also spoke to journalists after today's deliberations at the High Court.
We appeared before Justice Chapi, arguing our matter where CCC is alleging that Chabangu is not its representative official. He has no authority to represent it in any forum. He has no authority to recall any members elected on a CCC party ticket from Parliament or Council. So that application was opposed. Of course, that is why we're there for hours arguing, trying to place our case before the judge. And after hearing argument from both parties, the judge said this is an important matter which deserves more time for him to go through the submissions.
That was Obey Shava, the CCC recalled legislators' lawyer, speaking to journalists in Harare. Back to our main topic, Zimbabwe continues to battle with the cholera pandemic that broke out in February. This comes at a time when some suburbs have gone for months without running water and uncollected refuse. A campaign to educate people on how cholera and other diarrheal diseases are spread has started in Harare, targeting mostly Kwazana residents. Director of Health Services at the Harare City Council, Dr. Prosper Chonzi, says work to contain the pandemic has started.
We must engage, we must create awareness, we must educate each other. We know you want to survive, but survive in an environment where you are not harming the environment and also you are not harming the other people that are giving you business. So if at a certain level, everybody knows their responsibility.
In past weeks, videos of vendors storing their fruits and vegetables in unused public toilets emerged. Dr. Chonze says most of these ablution blocks are no longer functional, citing this as a cause for concern, saying although they are fixing the available toilets, there is still more that needs to be done.
We are repairing all the toilets that are broken down. The city is doing also its responsibility, but the pace is too slow. The time that we are taking to repair one toilet and the need that is out there are not talking to each other. Then even if you repair them, the rate at which they are breaking down is also a cause for concern. Those that are being locked can easily be unlocked. So there's going to be a deliberate program to rehabilitate the toilets, to make sure that there are toilets in all facilities, especially in the CBD.
Harare Residents Trust Director Precious Shumba says his organization is not happy with the pace at which sewer and water challenges are being tackled.
The responsiveness of the local authority has been disappointing. To worsen the situation, the council workers have been demanding at least $5 per family in order to attend to a reported sewer burst. That is most unfortunate. The assessment of the situation based on the report, the solution lies in the age and the replacement of underground sewer and the water pipes in the most affected areas.
The government, in a desperate bid to contain the disease, banned street vendors last week. Vendors Initiative for Social and Economic Transformations Monitoring and Evaluation Officer Edward Kapologo says the available markets are failing to contain all the vendors.
Dambudziko ratiri kusangana naro hombe nderekuti designated sites atinofanira tichitengesera iwayo mashoma nevanhu vanenge vachida kuwana pokutengesera.
But vendor Ishekwenda says their working conditions are a health hazard which needs to be addressed by the city fathers.
Toilets vambacho tinonesekana nekunobhadhara ukoko ari mupedza namo saka kumatoilet okuzopesera enda maflats ayo amene kana muri ndomuona flat iri padhuze nesu hostel andi resina kana kuchena dzimwe nguva vanenge varimo vacho vanombotidzinga futi vaitandanisa vachiti ibvai kunoko munotisira tsvina chete kuno muchitora mari. Even nyaya tasai nzvimbo yatiri tsvina yega yega hapana kunyatsochena hapana kushambidzika.
Suspected cholera cases in Zimbabwe have surpassed 8,000 with over 1,200 laboratory confirmed cases since the onset of the disease in February, with most of the patients in the capital Harare. Authorities say more than 150 people have died so far. Health Minister Douglas Mombeshora told the media recently that the disease was now in 10 provinces of the country. Zimbabweans fear a repeat of 2008 when the disease killed more than 4,000 people.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain, and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
For those that have just joined us, please note that we are streaming live on our Facebook pages VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We are also live on YouTube, VOA Zimbabwe. Today we are discussing the cholera pandemic that has hit Zimbabwe with over 8,000 suspected cases and 1,200 laboratory confirmed cases since February this year. To discuss the matter, we are joined by Dr. Annabelle Banda, a health expert, and we are looking forward to be joined by Harare Residence Trust Director, Precious Shumba, as well as Ishe Kwenda, a vendor. Welcome to Live Talk, Dr. Annabelle Banda. Welcome to the program, Shumba. Can you hear us, Precious Shumba? Welcome to the program, Mr. Shumba. I don't know what's happening there with our network. We'll keep on trying them as today we continue to discuss the cholera issue. Welcome to the program, Mr. Shumba. Well, it seems, Mr. Shumba, we had managed to connect to him, but I don't know what's happening with our phone lines today. We will keep trying as we continue to discuss the cholera issue, where we have seen a number of people dying in Zimbabwe, and we have seen many people being affected by this, with over 8,000 people being infected by the disease. And we've seen the City Council, the Harare City Council, declaring a state of emergency last week, where they have said they'll be directing all the resources that are available to fight this disease, with programs starting where they are going to be taking, making sure all the suburbs have water. They have engaged the Zimbabwe Electricity Supply Authority to make sure all there is electricity at the Morton Jeffrey waterworks, where they were saying they could not pump as much water as that is as needed in the city due to a challenge there of electricity. And we understand Mr. Shumba is with us. Welcome to the program, Mr. Shumba. Mr. Kwenda, welcome to the program.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Kwenda, tichitarisa muHarare umo nyaya yanetsa iyi yekolera muri kuiona sei?
Idambudziko guru chairo rinotoda kuti vanhu vakasiyana-siyana, mastakeholders akasiyana-siyana anga achishanda pamwe chete kuti dambudziko iri ringe richidzikira. Tichitarisa munyaya dzezvekutengesa idzizi, inotoona kuti nyaya dzemalivelod evanhu zvinoraramisa vanhu zviri kuapetika nekuda kwekuti maauthorities anozongoya achiti ibvai pano nekuti kwaitika dambudziko rekolera.
Zvino sezvo muri vamwe vevari kutengesa muHarare umo mumigwagwa pamwe nekumisika, kana kuri kunzi chibvai apo, muri kuona zviri zvinhu zvakamira sei, uyezve pavari kupa zvikonzero zvavo vari kuti aiwa pane kukanganisika kwenyaya dzezveutsanana kunounzwa nekuwanda kwevanhu vari kutengesa mumigwagwa apo. Chikonzero ichi munochiona sei?
Ndinoda chekutanga ndinoda kubvumirana nemaauthorities panyaya iyoyo yekuti munzvimbo dzatinotengesera sevanhu vanotengesa munzvimbo dzechinhu dzatifanire kutengesera nyaya dzemarara hadzisi kunyatsomanejwa zvakanaka, but zvakare inyaya inodzokera futi kunyange kune iyo vanoona nezvemutemo, vanoona nezvekanzuro reguta reHarare, inyaya kuti inodzokera kwavari. Asi chokwadi ndechekuti tsvina zveshuwa marara anowanikwa pese pese munzvimbo dzinotengeserwa. Asi nyaya hombe yava pakuti munhu ari muchiti ari kuzama kuda kutsvaga kurarama. Saka kuti tirambe kuti vanhu ava vari kushandira panzvimbo dzimwe dzisina kushambidzika kunenge kusiri kutaura chokwadi. Asi panenge pachida imwe nzira inenge ine kakutarisa zviri kusanganikwa nazvo nevararami vari kuraramira munzvimbo muguta reHarare. Nekuti mukatarisa mabasa mamiro azvakaita hakuna. Chiri kunyanya kukonzeresa dambudziko iri tisati tamhanya kuenda kumasiti kune mazembe, dambudziko remvura ndio ranyanya kukonzera kuti vanhu vange vachiafektwa nechirwere ichi. Saka ndinotenda kuti dai patanga kugadziriswa pane mudzi wedambudziko kwete kugadzira kumusoro-soro kwedambudziko, I think zvinogona kutiitira zvakanaka.
Tinotenda vakwenda. I understand we have managed to get in touch with Mr. Precious Shumba. Welcome to the program, Mr. Shumba.
Thank you very much. Greetings, listeners.
Thank you. As we discuss the issue around cholera, as residents in Zimbabwe, what do you think should be done? What do you think should be the way forward that can help Zimbabwe to tame this pandemic?
The most important intervention is to address the question of water and sewer infrastructure. As you might be aware, in most of the old suburbs that were established before 1980, the underground water and the sewer pipes have not been replaced. And after independence, there has not been much investment in terms of upgrading and expanding the water and the sewerage infrastructure. What it has also meant is that the rural urban migration has resulted in more people coming into the city of Harare. We now have new settlements that are illegal, but where people are drinking water from shallow wells, where people are using septic tanks, and in some cases they are built in wetlands. What is happening is that the seepage affects and contaminates the groundwater. People who drinking from the community bores and the shallow wells end up being infected, contracting cholera. And we now have the infills. The stage of infills has affected nearly all suburbs, with some of the settlements or houses being built on top of the sewer lines. They have broken down. The result is that sewer just spills all over the place, and this needs to be addressed. So, number one, let's have water pipe and the sewer pipe replacement program, particularly in the old suburbs like Highfield, Rugare, Fakosi, Kambuzuma, Tafara, Mabuku, Dwarasekwa. These areas are really experiencing nightmarish experience in terms of accessing water, in terms of sewer base. The second aspect is addressing the question of leadership within the councils, technocrats, and within the policy makers. You note that in most instances, the technocrats prescribe solutions that personally benefit them as individuals. And at the same time, you have a situation where policymakers sometimes are inexperienced to understand the background to these issues and end up simply agreeing to the proposals from their technocrats. So a bit of a combination of the technocrats, the policymakers, and other stakeholders contributing with the researches, with the resources would go a long way.
Thank you there, Mr. Shumba. We'll go back to Kwenda. Mr. Kwenda, you hear what Mr. Shumba is proposing. What are your thoughts on this? Manzwa zvanga zvichitaurwa navashumba panyaya yekolera iyi nezvinoda kuti zvinge zvichiitwa muHarare, munozvionawo sei zvavanga vachitaura izvi?
Ndinowirirana nezvizhinji zvavanga vachitaura nekuda kwekuti mukatarisa dambudziko irori zvandambotaura pekutanga nyaya yekungoti mvura ndiyakutaura nyaya yemasuwa pipes zvichienda zvakadaro, inyaya yekuti ikagadziriswa zvinogona kutinakirawo kunyange isusu kwatinenge tichitengesera hwani nzvimbo dzinenge dzine mvura, nzvimbo dzinenge dzakashambidzika, inoredusa kupararira kwechirwere ichi.
Tinotenda vakwenda. Tichidzoka kwamuri vashumba, vakwenda mumwe wevamwe vanotengesawo mumigwagwa yemuHarare, munoona sei nyaya yekuti vange vachimiswa kutengesera munzvimbo dzakasiyana siyana nekuda kwenyaya yekolera iyi?
You see, kana tichitarisa nyaya watingati ma-vendors, ndiyo informal sector yabata upenyu hwevagari vakawanda mukati meguta reHarare nenyika yose, ngekuti hakuna mabasa. Tikanyatsa kuzvitarisa, hurumende painoti iri kuda kuti ma-vendors abve mumigwagwa, hationi sekuti hurumende yashandisa ruzivo rungabve muresearch kana kuti any scientific evidence inoratidza kuti ma-vendors ndo ma-primary transmitters echirwere chekolera. Dambudziko guru ritoripo nderekuti kunyange wakataura zvekuda kuti ma-vendors anobva, anenge achibva achimboenda kupi? Ngekuti mumigwagwa ndomo vari kutoraramira vachichengeta mhuri dzavo, uye tikatotarisa kuri kunyanyoita dambudziko rechirwere chekolera muguta reHarare, inzvimbo dzatingati mapaddocks eguta reHarare kunochengetwa mombe uko, kwakasetliwa vanhu vakagadzwa zviri kumutemo.
Tinotenda vashumba, ndichakubatai apo. Nguva dzedu ndo dzati kudyanana dzatiza, tichitenda kuti manga muinesu muchirongwa chanhasi. And that brings us to the end of our show. Signing off in Washington, I am Tavoka Ngube.